Have you ever heard a grown up say, "It's all in your head"? Hmm. But what if what's in your head doesn't leave? What if it walks beside you, step by step? Let me tell you about a girl who thought the scariest part of her life was the destination. But turns out it was something else entirely. The rain had not stopped all morning. Thick clouds rolled low across the hill, drowning everything in a pale grey haze. The sound of falling water was constant, soft, steady, but endless. Sanya stood at the edge of an old railway bridge, soaked from head to toe, her damp shawl clinging to her like her second skin. Her bag, strapped tightly over her shoulder, was beginning to feel heavier by the minute. Behind her lay Kateri, her village, the only home she had ever known. Small, tucked between two hills with stone houses and sloping roofs. A place filled with silence, control, and judgment. A place that told her who she was and who she was allowed to become. But she was done with it. Today, in front of her, stretched the bridge, an abandoned railway line, no longer in use, built decades ago. Solid steel rails, thick stone sleepers, and rusted bolts holding everything together. There were no railings, no lights, nothing but empty air on the other side. Below, a deep canyon disappeared into a bed of forest, so dense that the ground was almost invisible. Somewhere far beneath, a river rushed, but she couldn't see it, only hear it. They called it the halfway bridge. Everyone in Kateri knew the stories. They said if you made it across the bridge, you'd get a call that was your last. No one knew exactly what it meant. Some said it was a phone booth that rang. Others believed the call came from inside your own head. The only thing they all agreed on was that the call always came. And once it did, you were never the same. The morning she left, her best friend had gripped her wrist and whispered,
"If it rings, don't answer, please."
but Sanya wasn't scared. She was in love. Her boyfriend was waiting at Choti Pahadi, the next village, and tonight they would run away together. She had written a letter and left it on her mother's bedside. She didn't say sorry. She didn't ask for her blessings. She just said she was done waiting. Her fingers now touched the cold steel of the first rail. Now that, kids, is the moment you either come back or you don't. The bridge hummed faintly under her weight. Raindrops struck the metal like tiny fingertips tapping on glass. She moved slowly, testing each step. Her feet were slipping slightly on the slick surface. Below her, the trees were blurred, swaying like shadows underwater. Don't look down, she told herself. But she did, and her stomach flipped. There was no ground, no floor, at least none that she could feel. Only cold mist brushing against her feet. She walked on. The silence grew louder. She was halfway across when she heard it. A soft sound behind her. Not her footsteps, but someone else. She turned quickly. Nothing. Only the endless lines of tracks disappearing into white fog. She told herself it was an echo. Old bridges did strange things. Sounds bounced around, but then it happened again. And this time, ahead of her. She froze. And then the bridge did something she could not explain. It bent. Not physically, but the air around it. The fog shimmered. The steel shimmered. And for a moment, Sanya saw herself standing just 10 feet away from herself. Same bag, same expression, same soaked clothes. The other Sanya looked back at her and then vanished. Her hands shook, her chest tightened. She wanted to turn back, but Katari had disappeared long ago. The fog thickened. Her shoes scraped against the steel. She blinked, trying to focus. And then came the voices, faint, soft, as if whispered through the wind. Don't go. He's not waiting. Well. Sanya gritted her teeth and pressed on. Her breathing was shallow now. Her heart thumped so loud it drowned in rain. She remembered the night she first met him, her boyfriend. He had been fixing a scooter under the banyan tree. He smiled at her without fear. He said, "If I had someone like you, I'd never let her cry." They had written notes, hidden them in school books, whispered dreams over cracked phone screens. She had thought it was silly once, but now she thought it was her only escape. She was dragged out of her thoughts when there was nothing beneath to place her next step on. The bridge vanished again. Gone. No steel, no stone, and this time, no mist. Below her, the canyon was clear as glass. The river, once silver, now rushed dark and red, like it had always been hiding its true colors. Her feet were still moving, but she was walking in the air, cold, empty. and in the blink of an eye, there was no sky anymore. No ground, only a slow, pulsing light beneath her feet, as if she were floating on the echo of her own fear. Then the bridge returned, and she dropped on her knees, gasping. She tried to scream, but no sound came out, only the wind, and somewhere footsteps that didn't belong to her. She pushed herself up. Her hands scraped against the rusted boards. Her legs trembled. But she walked, one step, then another. Then light, dim, yellowish, blurred through the mist like the glow of a lantern left too long in the rain. A shape began to form beyond the fog. She had reached the end of the bridge. Choti Pahadi. But something was wrong. It didn't feel like a village. It felt hollow, still. The mud lanes were soaked but empty. The houses had windows but no lights. The doors were open, but no one stepped out. Even the trees were too still. And then she saw it. The PCO box, half buried under the creepers. Its metal door swung slightly. The receiver was missing. The phone inside was smashed. She stood before it, waiting, but nothing happened. No ring, no hum, no static. She laughed bitterly. All this fear, all this legend, for this? Sanya sat down on the stone nearby, wriggling her shawl like it mattered. The air around her felt thin. She waited. An hour passed, then another. Her legs ached, her stomach grumbled. The village still looked abandoned. Not a cow, not a dog, no wind in the trees. She traced the cracks in the glass of the PCO box, counted the vines, peeled the mud off her slippers. Maybe they just lied to us, just to keep us in. Maybe the bridge was the real ghost. I don't know. She thought of writing a letter to her friend once she makes her way to the city, telling her friend that it's all broken. A lie. The phone doesn't work. The curse is just a fear. But the bridge does something to your head. Makes you hear things, feel things. Another hour passed. The quiet wasn't peaceful anymore. It was bloated. It sat on her shoulders like wet cotton. She caught herself whispering his name over and over, like it would pull him out from the mist. You're supposed to come. A strange stillness gripped her spine. She stood, panicked, but angry. She jolted up, jaws clenched and eyes sharp. Enough was enough. Her hands slapped the wet stone for balance as she rose. So, and shivering, but filled with sudden fire. She turned to face the bridge, but then it was gone, not fogged out, not hidden, just gone. Only canyon now. A deep, endless cut through the earth. She stumbled back. That's when the ringing began. Not from the booth, but from inside her head. A scream never escaped her lips. She caught her breath and dropped to her knees, clenching her skull. The pain was white, endless, and through it came a voice. Her own. You never made it back, Sanya. You fell 3 days ago. And now is when she remembered. The slip, the fall, the scream that never echoed back. She opened her eyes. The village wasn't real. It was a shell, a space in between, a place for those who didn't know that they died. She looked up, and in the broken glass of the PCO box, she saw her reflection. She wasn't breathing. Her head cracked open. Blood matted in her hair like rust. Back in Kateri, children still talk about the halfway bridge. They say that sometimes at night, if you listen closely, you'll hear footsteps, or laughter, or a ringing phone no one can find. And if you ever stand on the bridge, you might see her, a girl in soaked red shawl, walking forever, never turning back. Now they say the halfway bridge doesn't take everyone, just the ones who believe they'll make it across. Poor Mira never turned back, not because she didn't want to, but because the bridge didn't let her. Some places test your feet, but others test your mind.